Now, this is the story of the plagues of hail, locust, and darkness coming from Exodus 9 through 11. The Lord told Moses to go and confront Pharaoh early in the morning and say, "The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says, let my people go so they may worship me, or I'll bring the full force of my plagues against you, and you will know that there's no one like me in all the earth. For already I could have wiped you from the earth, but I have raised you up for this very purpose, that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth. And I will bring the most severe hailstorm ever against Egypt, and you should shelter everything in your fields, because the hail will kill both men and animal remaining in the fields. But only those officials of Pharaoh who feared the word of the Lord gave shelter to their slaves and to their livestock. The others did not. So Moses raised his staff to the sky, and hail struck both men and animals and beat down everything in the fields. And yet there was no hail at all in Goshen, where the Israelites were staying. So Pharaoh, he summoned Moses and Aaron, and he said, "Pray, I have sinned, pray to the Lord, and I will let the Israelites go." So Moses prayed, and the hailstorm stopped. But Pharaoh hardened his heart, and he would not let the Israelites go. So the Lord told Moses to go to Pharaoh, but the Lord would harden Pharaoh's heart, so that the Israelites could tell their children and grandchildren how the Lord performed his miraculous signs in Egypt, and so that they would know the Lord. Now, Moses and Aaron, they went to Pharaoh, and they said, "The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says, let my people go, or I will bring the most severe locust plague on Egypt, and locusts will fill all of Egypt." Now, Pharaoh's officials, they said, "Let the people go and worship the Lord. Don't you realize that Egypt is in ruin?" So the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Go and worship the Lord your God, but who will go with you?" And Moses said, "We will go with our young and our old. We will go with our sons and our daughters, with our flocks and our herds." But the Pharaoh said, "No, only the men will go." And then he drove Moses and Aaron from his presence. So Moses raised his staff to the sky, and the Lord caused a strong east wind to blow an invasion of locusts into Egypt that devoured everything that was not already destroyed by the hailstorm. Now the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "I have sinned. Forgive my sin," and prayed to the Lord to remove this plague of locusts. So Moses prayed, and the Lord caused a strong west wind to blow all the locusts into the Red Sea. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go. So the Lord told Moses to stretch out his hand over Egypt, and darkness would cover all Egypt. So Moses stretched out his hand over Egypt, and total darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. But the Israelites had light in the places where they were staying. So the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Go, take your women and your children and worship the Lord your God, but leave your flocks and your herds here." But Moses said, "Our livestock must go with us, because we use them in the worship of the Lord our God." So then the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go. And he said to Moses, "Get out of my sight and don't appear before me again." Now the Lord told Moses that he would send one last plague on Egypt, and the Pharaoh would let the Israelites go. So the Israelites were to go to the Egyptians, their Egyptian neighbors, and ask them for articles of silver and gold. And around midnight, the Lord would strike down every firstborn son in Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh to the firstborn son of the slave girl, and the firstborn cattle as well. Now, at this time there would be such loud wailing in Egypt like there had never been before. But among the Israelites, not even a dog would bark. And in this way, the Lord would show that he makes a distinction between Israel and Egypt. Now Moses and Aaron performed all these signs before the Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and the Pharaoh would not let the Israelites go. And that is the story of the plagues of hail, locust, and darkness.